Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, double honor to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to you sincere laborers out there pushing this truth, you sincere brothers, in all sincerity, faith, and honesty. And this your brother Kanakala from GMS Temple 07, GMS Rai. And I want to thank y'all, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, for giving me the spirit to do another video. Alright. But this is just, as you can see on the screen, it says challenge for an honest breakdown of Matthews 10 and 5 through 6. This is a video done on the channel Hebrew Israelites Debunk DNA. Alright, but nonetheless, I'm going to get right into it. It says challenge for an honest breakdown of Matthews 10 and 5 through 6. The Hebrew Israelites claim the term Gentile is used to denote the scatterer of Israel. But Jesus, which Yahweh Shai, does not use them this way. So he's saying we use the word Gentile to classify the Israelite foreigners that were scattered abroad. Alright? Which is true. Okay? We do use it in that term. But what I'm going to explain in this video is that you have to understand the context when that word Gentile is used. Alright? Because there is two different sets of Gentiles which this guy here will put his foot in his own mouth, so to say, for lack of a better term. Alright? Which I'm going to show you the point that he pretty much doesn't understand. He pretty much answered his own question, but he has no understanding of it. Alright? It says specifically, look at how Jesus used the term in Matthew 10 and 5. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, into any city of Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So how can it possibly be that in the New Testament, the Gentiles are the scattered house of Israel, when in the same chapter verse, Jesus used the terms Gentiles and house of Israel to mean two entirely different groups? Okay? He has other questions on there too, but I'm going to answer the first one in this lesson, part 1. Alright? But he, like I said, he pretty much put his foot in his own mouth. It says this is the point. Okay, where he answers his own question, but he doesn't understand. It says, and how it's like in house of Israel to me in two entirely different groups, which is true. All right, there is two entirely different groups. We just don't classify the Gentiles as just Israelite foreigners. The Gentiles can actually mean the other nations as well. All right, and I'm going to prove that. But first, we got to understand Matthew 10 and 5. It says, these 12 Jesus sent forth, command them, saying, go down to the way of the Gentiles. Then he further explains it, and into any city of Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So the actual Gentiles there was talking about the actual Gentiles in this nation, the different class of Gentiles, because there's two different types, like he stated. It means two entirely different groups, which is correct. All right, but nonetheless, we're gonna get into this. Alright, not this one. We want this one. Alright. This is 2 Kings, 17th chapter. I'm going to start at 24th verse. Okay, and it says, and the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon. Reading this passage right here. Alright. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Kata, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, excuse my pronunciation, and to place them in the cities of Samaria. Okay, there's that word, Samaria. Okay, instead of the children of Israel. Instead of the children of Israel. So this is that history. It says, and they possessed Samaria, and dwelt in the cities thereof, and dwelt in the cities thereof. That's why the Lord say, in any city of Samaria enter ye not, but go right to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Because you had these kings place different nations there in those cities of Samaria, all right? In verse 25, it says, and so it was in the beginning of the dwelling there, that they feared not the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Okay? Which slew some of them. All right? Some. Keyword, some of them. Not all of them. So you still had those people dwelling there, following after the customs of the Jews. As you heard that term Jesus said, Salakia, which is Yahweh Shai, he said, "Woman, you know what ye not worship, for we know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews," roughly paraphrasing it. All right? And that it says, so you had different kings, different people dwelling there in the city of Samaria. All right? Let's see if I can get this. Matter of fact, Google. Bear with me. Get this city of Samaria. I'm gonna show you that which is in Israel. Samaria, however you want to pronounce it. All right, images. Okay, and it should be one coming up as soon as possible. Let's wait for this to load up. Okay, right here, it's from the Bible study. All right, cities of Samaria. All right, right here. Samaria. So you had those different nations, those Gentiles, those actual Gentiles living in the city of Samaria. All right. So that's why the Lord said, "Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and to any city of Samaria enter ye not," because what Samaritans, we learn from the history that those Samaritans were of other nations. All right. So the Lord said, "Don't go unto them, but go unto my people, the house of Israel." All right. Say right here, this 24th verse. Cities of Samaria instead, so he placed people from Assyria, Babylon, from Qatar, from Ava, Hamath, from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria. All right, so that's why the Lord stated it in Matthew 10:5. All right, instead of the children of Israel, and they possessed the cities thereof. So the Lord knew that. The Lord knew the history. The Lord was a learned man, all right? So that's why the Lord said, "Go not to the Gentiles," all right? And we're going to see, so now we see why the Lord said, "Go not into the way of the Gentiles," the actual nations, which is two classifications, like I'm going to prove, all right? Two classifications which I'm going to prove, all right? That's why the Lord said, "Go not in the way of the Gentiles," or "Go not into any city of Samaria." So we understand now, like the scriptures say, the things written before time was written for our learning. All right, that we through patience and faith might have hope. All right, so you got to know the history. The scriptures say, "A man bring out his treasures, both things old and new." All right, so you gotta take the whole history. You gotta take the whole book, eat the whole roll. All right, that's why people have a hard time understanding this book, because you just think the New Testament is just it and that's it. But you got to understand the old, all right? You got to understand the history, all right? This is John 7, verse 31. "And many people believed on him and said, When Christ cometh, will he do more miracles than these which this man hath done? The Pharisees heard that the people murmured such things concerning him." Verse 32. "And the chief priests sent officers to take him." Verse 33. "Then said Jesus unto them," which is Yahweh Shai. All right. It says, "Yet a little while am I with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. Ye shall seek me and shall not find me." Verse 34. Where I am, thither ye cannot come." And this is the point. I'm answering your question. Like I said, you put your own foot in your mouth, so to say, all right? You don't understand what's going on here. It says, verse 35, "Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles?" Okay? The dispersed, keyword dispersed. So it's people dispersed among Gentiles. But then it's going to further state who those dispersed people are. "And teach the Gentiles?" Okay? So there's two classifications of Gentiles like you asked, okay? Because Israel was scattered abroad, all right? Dispersed amongst the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles, all right? So there's two classifications, my man, like you asked, okay? We're going to get it. All right, like you stated here, you said, so how can it possibly be in a, you said, how can it possibly be in that New Testament the Gentiles are the scattered house of Israel, when the same chapter, verse, Jesus used the terms Gentiles and the house of Israel to mean two entirely different groups? Which is two entirely different groups, okay? It's two classifications of Gentiles. All right? You got actual Gentiles, which are the other nations, which were the city of Samaritans, where the Lord said, go ye not into those cities where those Gentiles are at. The actual other nations, 2 Kings, okay? 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, which was talking about those actual other Gentiles, but go to my people, the house of Israel. All right? So it is two classifications of Gentiles, all right? And that this proves it, John 7:35. All right? And we're gonna get a precept really quick. This is James 1:1. All right, this is gonna answer that question. To disperse amongst the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles. All right. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Yahweh Shai, to the 12 tribes, okay, 12 tribes, which are Israelites, all right, which were scattered, okay. Scattered is synonymous with dispersed, okay. A broad greeting, okay. So you had those Israelites that lost who they were, all right, because they were scattered abroad, going after the nations, going after the other nations' customs, speaking other nations' languages, all right. So that breaks down that Matthew's 10:5, all right. And he had another questions too, but I'm answer that in the next lesson. Don't make this video too long. So that's how it possibly be in the New Testament the Gentiles are scattered house of Israel, when the same chapter, verse, Jesus used the term Gentiles as a house of Israel to mean two entirely different groups, which there are two entirely different groups. All right, if you're going to get technical, there's three. You have the Gentiles, the actual other nations, the other class of Gentiles, which are the Israelite foreigners that didn't know they were Israelites, and then you had the house of Israel, though they of the circumcision, who knew that they were Israelites, who knew that they were Jews. All right. So that answers Matthew's 10:5. Key points: you got to know the history. You got to understand the context when it's used. All right, when the Gentiles is being used. Okay, because the Lord only came to save His people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, and then the descendants of those people, because the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans were scattered abroad amongst all the other nations. So they can look like so-called white people. They can look like Africans. They can look like Egyptians, Ethiopians. They can look like Chinese, Japanese, Moabites, Ammonites. But they're Israelites if they go back to so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, with that, I'm going to close out. Give all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, that wants the elder apostle of great millstone. Salutations to you sincere laborers out there, pushing this truth in all sincerity and faith and honesty. Shalom.